Hi, welcome to Paul's Heart. I'm Paul. Paul's Heart is about my 35-year survival from cancer, Hodgkin's lymphoma to be specific. So one of the questions that I always get asked is, how did you know that you had cancer? How did the doctors know that you had cancer? The truth is, they didn't. Now, before I get started, I want to point out that for the most part, I'd always been healthy through those 22 years. I was 22 years old when I was diagnosed. But another neat thing about my health is that at that point, I only had two doctors. My first doctor practiced well into his 80s until he died, and that put me at around 14 years old. And then I saw my second family doctor for the next 5 years. I went to him because I was at work one day, and I was sitting at my desk and I was on my phone, and my hand had reached behind my ear, and I just so happened to have noticed a lump. Now, it should be clear that as we go through life, childhood and adulthood, we do have these lumps pop up every now and then. They're called lymph nodes, and that's their job when you're dealing with an infection, whether it be from a cold, an infection, whatever. They do get swollen, and through the natural course of medications or whatever, the swellings go back down. So I went to my doctor and I showed the lump to him, and I didn't feel like I had any kind of cold, so I was kind of confused by it, but still he felt this was a cold. And what he did was he prescribed a medicine called Naprosyn, which is an anti-inflammatory, and he said, take this for a couple of weeks and the swelling should go down. Now, I was fairly athletic at that point in my life, so he said, we want you to take it easy for a little bit. And so I did. After 2 weeks of taking the medication, the lymph node did go down like it was supposed to. And at that point, I resumed back to my softball league and my exercising, and all of a sudden I developed a pain in my left arm. So I don't know what possessed me not to return back to my doctor, but a friend of mine who I worked with had suggested that I go see his doctor, who specializes in sports injuries, because that's what I felt I had. I just felt I overdid it. After 2 weeks of not doing anything, I went right back to it like I had never stopped. And at that point, I made the appointment. I saw him, and he was more concerned about the lump that was in my neck. So I said, look, I've got a sports injury. Don't worry about this. My other doctor's taking care of that. And he argued with me a little bit more, and he suggested that I go see a hematologist, which, if you're a healthy person, you have no idea the different names of specialists that are out there or what they do. And so I made the appointment with this hematologist, and I was able to see him 2 days later. I got to the office, and there in the front yard in front of the building was the doctor's name, as well as the sign, Oncology Hematology. Now, I was able to put together hema, meaning blood, tology, the study of blood. Okay, what does this have to do with a sports injury? At this point, I still have no idea what's going on. Neither do the doctors. So I go in there, I fill out all the paperwork like you do at every other doctor's office that you go to, and I get escorted back to an office, not an exam room, so this is really weird for me. And just then, the doctor comes into the office, and no lie, he just says, Hodgkin's lymphoma. And really, at that point, I pretty much blacked out, because I had heard of Hodgkin's lymphoma. I knew all of a sudden things started clicking with the sign out front that I was talking to a cancer doctor. And I couldn't figure out for the life of me what I was doing there. The doctor had continued on about how curable Hodgkin's lymphoma was, and, if you're a fellow Hodgkin's lymphoma patient or survivor watching this, brace yourself, because I know you still hear this line being used. If you're going to get a cancer, Hodgkin's lymphoma is the one to get. Something that infuriates all of us when we hear that. And they still do it. So I met with the doctor a little bit more, and I tried to tell him he's got the wrong patient. You barely even shook my hand, and you're diagnosing me. There have been no tests. You haven't checked out my arm. I'm here for a sports injury. And that's pretty much how the night ended. I stormed out of his office because I told him he had the wrong guy, and he just wasn't listening to it. So there's more to this story, and I'll get to that in the next video clip. In the meantime, I encourage you. This is my book, Paul's Heart, Life as a Dad and a 35-Year Cancer Survivor. You can find that on Amazon, and you can find out more about what happened in this beginning stage of my survivorship. Again, thank you for watching Paul's Heart, and please make sure you follow and like and share. Have a good day.